Lauren, thanks for joining me and on this incredible journey of many cycles. Hi everyone, I'm Mich Carpenter and we're here again with Lauren James from Astrology. Just so you know, we know that the world feels heavy right now, and it's something that Lauren and I have been feeling ourselves. I'm deeply sensitive, as is Lauren, I think, and it's really having to step away from the collective and just find a space of calm, find a space of pause. I think a lot of us are really, really learning to slow down. Would you say that that's fair for you too, or true for
I
you?
do. Yeah, 100%. I think it's, like you said, taking time to pause. And I feel like sometimes when there is such craziness and chaos, that you almost want, almost forced to, like you're like, I think I really need to just take a step back versus if everything was good and you just were like, shoom, shoom, doing everything, all over the place. I feel like people are compassion, having more compassion for what's going on for people who are affected around the world. So yeah.
That is so true. I mean, recently, as you know, I was in the United States and I was lucky enough to be in Florida, where Lauren lives. Love Florida. And Floridians that we
Yeah.
saw alligators.
Yeah,
Crazy, crazy, but I just loved it. It was just amazing. I got to swim with the dolphins, which was
that's
great.
awesome.
Um, and then I went over to Atlanta and Alabama, and it was very interesting because somebody that I was sharing time and space with in Alabama actually comes from and was born in Iran,
Okay.
and we were in a car share together, and we were going to this event, and he started getting, and this just leans into what you were sharing. He was starting to get upset because the war had just started and erupted,
Hmm.
and I just said to him, I know how you feel for your people. I have a brother and family that live in Israel, and I said to him, "Can we just shake this off?" I said, "Because it's not that we were there was nothing in terms of being charged and wanting to, because it doesn't serve me.
Hmm.
I don't live in Israel, but I have family that live there. He has family, I
Yeah.
think, that still live in Iran. Or so you see how
Hmm.
we feel so protective over our
Yeah.
lands and over
Hmm.
our people. And I love what you just shared, because in actual fact, it's just how can we just show up in compassion for every human being? And I know that's challenging. I was sharing with Lauren earlier on that the reality is, guys, that not everything's love and light. And it's not. It's just not. We're here to have this human earthly experience. And this was a reality check for me, where, again, just from my perception of the world, the shadow work is really important. I've shared this time and time and time again that there's this absolute distortion between being spiritual, and sometimes I even think, what does it even mean? Being spiritual for me is holding a space of grace and being compassionate, yet at the same time working through those vast amount of emotions
Oh, those emotions.
that we are as human beings, because we're an emotional body, and it doesn't mean that we've got to sit in our emotions. It just, for me, do the work,
Hmm.
and then we become lighter in ourselves, we become more discerning in ourselves, and this was a great trip of learnings for me. And by the way, I love you Americans. I just love you guys. You're so friendly. Even the guy in the store that decided to tell me that the organic bananas were not organic and it's all a farce. And I was like, okay, thank you for your opinion, and I just, in New Zealand, it's such a small island, and we have little papayas like this big, and in
Hmm.
Florida they papayas, and
Oh, they're
I
big,
was just
yes.
so in awe of the choice, but also overwhelmed. But
Hmm.
yeah, America, I love you guys. Just find your space of togetherness, because you're in a you're a great, great, great people. And I know there's a lot of shit that's happening, and we're not here to lay the blame. We're here
Mm-hmm.
to evolve and to
Yeah.
shift and to step back, and that's a challenge because a lot of us want to stay in the fight, flight, fright, and fawn, you know. And
Yeah.
so, how can we share and see and be different?
Mm.
And that is a challenge in itself too, because it's showing up for ourselves. And when we show up for ourselves, and again, for me, I've come from a background of black and white. There's always
Mm.
been a separation. And how can we? Oh, I'm just feeling your heart right now, Lauren. um, and
I
are you
oh sorry,
okay?
go on. Yeah, I was just thinking when you said separation, I was thinking about my beautiful family. And I do mean that. They are a beautiful family, but just how I've always been a bit of a black sheep of the family. I don't speak to my dad. So yeah, that's what came to my mind when you said it.
Yeah,
So
and thank you for
yeah.
that openness and transparency, and I can only imagine that that's not easy. Um,
Mm.
and that is the just going back to any person with wisdom, and I've been watching many people over many years, and they say that we can proclaim to be as wise and as ascendant and as awakened. I feel like I'm a pastor on the stage right now. No disrespect to pastors, but we can claim to be all of that. And but at the same time, it's when we're with our families, that's when we truly, truly heal.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and we may not like them, yet there's always love, always.
Hmm.
We may
And
not
many
like their
lessons.
behaviors. Absolutely. We may
Yeah.
want them to change, but the reality
Hmm.
is that the change happens within us, not
Yeah.
within them.
No,
So
100%. Yeah.
thank you for sharing that openly. That means
Mm.
a lot, and I can only begin to imagine that. Yeah, what I want to say, just find the love again.
Yeah, I have to say one thing about that is it has taught me about how to forgive. I always thought, oh, I know how to forgive someone, but no, this whole situation has taught me so much, but forgiveness is one of the bigger things I think it's taught me. So yeah, so those experiences, those challenges, I feel that always teach us the most.
Yeah,
It's learning how to embrace them,
yeah.
even when we're in them.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
we can be supercharged. We've got this protection that we hold ourselves
Hmm.
accountable for, and the
Yeah.
fight, flight, fright is very much within us. And
Hmm.
yet at the same time, I always say to anybody, if you heard that your dad had 24 hours left to live, would any of the stories make a difference?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And the ultimate is finding forgiveness for ourselves.
yes, that's probably the biggest one.
Yes.
I haven't 100, I have not 100% mastered that one, I have to be honest, but
Me
I'm
too.
working on
Me too.
it.
And well, I suppose people might even be asking, like, what does it even mean to forgive ourselves? Well, when we've played a part,
Hmm.
when we've gone down a road, when we've gone down a journey, and I'm most certainly not innocent in this. I was a very defensive teenager. I was a defensive adult. Ha ha ha. Does that sound familiar? And my dad and I fought. We fought. We just, whether it
Hmm.
was karma that we had to work through, but
Hmm.
I just didn't back down for years. And then I realized I was hurting myself,
Hmm.
because I wanted him to change. I wanted him to be a
Yeah.
different dad, and he didn't. Oh, I'm just feeling you,
Mm.
and just sensing that life can be tricky, and even through
Mm.
these conversations, Lauren, we find healing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do definitely, I do agree with that. Yes. Even in some, sometimes it does take me a moment. I can have like having a conversation with you, and but it's sometimes it's the later on where say certain things, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, and it just things just click. But whether it's in the moment or afterwards, it just does. It is healing. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And the truth of it is that even in our learnings of life, is that because that's why we're here to learn. So in taking personal responsibility and
is.
accountability, with me going overseas, which was wonderful,
Mm,
but there were things that just didn't sit well with me, but I can choose to blame. I can choose to get upset, and there were moments that I did. Yet at the same time, not I chose to not be that angry teenager.
that's
That
good.
for me
Yeah.
is the learning, and that comes with, for me, a huge amount of learning and letting go and
Mm,
being angry, punching a lot of
yeah.
pillows, screaming into pillows. That's just been my process. It might not be everybody's process, but I'm always of the opinion, get it out, but don't project it
Hmm.
onto others, because
Yeah.
that's where we hurt one another. And that
Hmm.
was my
Yeah.
learning. My dad was one of my greatest teachers, that yeah, it's just not worth it because you hurt each other, and then those words are
Hmm.
always inside of us.
Yep, yep. And then there's the thinking of, oh, whether you're forgiving someone or you're mad in the moment. I should have said this. It's like an endless cycle
Yeah,
of darkness that just doesn't help.
yeah,
Help.
yeah,
Yeah, it just doesn't
yeah,
help.
yeah. And change, I think change is what we are. If I look at my generation of people, my dad's
Hmm.
generation, I mean, even our children's generation, it's very different. And as parents,
100%.
I think it's really
Hmm.
challenging and hard to roll with the times.
Yeah.
We had a gentleman within our group who said that I think his daughter was 13 when he allowed her to have his first cell phone, and I was thinking, shit, I'm such a bad parent, because well, whew,
Yeah.
I just kept quiet clearly, but it's just like, and it's interesting because these are the dynamics of being parents, isn't it?
Hmm.
My
Yeah.
husband was saying, we've got to let them in, we've got to let them be in the world.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and it is challenging. Some people might disagree and say, well, but I just sat there and I thought, wow, I wonder what he did to allow himself and his wife and his child, because you have to be very strong, in my opinion, and have courage to say, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Yep.
sometimes I've caved and I'm just like, oh, just choose my battles.
Hmm.
And yes, there's a consequence to that. So
Yeah.
it's really having to really learn very quickly nowadays, especially with AI, especially with modern technology. We have
Hmm.
to learn really, really quickly and still keep an eye out for our children as to what they, and
Yeah.
keep talking to them. That's for me is very important. Keep talking
Oh,
openly.
yeah.
And when they're
Hmm.
defensive, just let them be. But when they are open to having a conversation, just say, hey, plant the seeds. Like, just wondering, what are you watching?
Hmm.
And I'm always
Yeah.
kind of listening with half an ear in the background when they're
Yep.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's just
And
crazy.
everything else. Yeah, I know. And I think that is the best thing because you can be super, like you said, the generations, like your parents were, how my parents were, it was like, this is it, that's out, that's what you're eating for dinner. And that's, it was just,
Yeah,
that is it.
yeah,
Now,
that's it.
things have evolved and having
Yes.
that open communication, so they feel comfortable with feeling comfortable to say, hey, mom, you know what? This happened, and not hide it, not try to, hide it from you, and actually be able to share things with you. So you can help them, or even they also helps them to make better decisions um, with the confidence that they can talk to you about whatever it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's just an incredible time of us kind of renegotiating, refinding. I mean, if you think about it, Lauren, I mean, what, this is the third war or the fourth war that, no, the fifth. I think there was Afghanistan, Ukraine, Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Israel's been in the war, well,
Mm-hmm.
continuously, but just in my lifetime, I think, my dad was in the Rhodesian War, but it's really just this renegotiation of showing up for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And how do we want to, I often get asked by clients, well, Mish, what do you do differently? And I just say, well, I'm learning as I go along,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm learning to become different. And
Yeah.
the realization is when there's an experience in the moment, that's when I realize that actually I'm different, because before I would have
Mm-hmm.
gone into fight mode. If somebody was, and this happened in Alabama, where somebody was just being incredibly mean to another person and shouting, and they were in their fight flight, and I just sat in my room because I thought, if
Mm-hmm.
I go out there, I don't know how I'm going to react. Do I want to
Yeah.
react? No, I don't, because it's
Mm-hmm.
a conversation that happened between two people that it was actually none of my business. But the
Yeah.
protector in
Mm-hmm.
me wants to come out and go, but how can we learn in that moment? How can we teach in
Mm-hmm.
that moment? How can we show up in that moment for ourselves? Because we bring it
Yeah.
in. And I love what you shared, because it's about how can we teach our children to be safe.
Mm.
That for
Oh
me is
yeah.
the key, to be safe to share, because
Mm-hmm.
there's so
Yeah.
much that they're buying into,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it's
And
true,
they
and even
see,
us.
yeah. Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just, and I think for us, like I said before, the compassion and when large sorry, I can't speak today. This is
that's
Mercury
okay.
retrograde. When things happen on a worldwide basis that are challenging,
Yeah,
wars, terrorism, it does bring people together. And, I could see that, and I hope that, horrible, it doesn't get any worse, but, I could see people coming together and growing compassion towards one another due as a result of all this chaos that's going on in the world, all this change that's going on in the world.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So let's talk about the planets and what the planets are up to. And I believe that we're in for some huge magnification. That's what it feels like. And I don't know about you, but you mentioned Mercury retrograde confusion. I've just been
Mm,
exhausted the last few nights, not sleeping,
yeah.
tossing and turning. I always feel
Mm-hmm.
it in my solar plexus and my kidneys. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really having to just take some downtime where I can, and stay in, because we've been activated. Our DNA has been activated differently.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about the new moon.
Okay. So we have, and I'm doing a little differently. I don't have my chart on my screen because of some technical issues I was having
That's
earlier
okay.
today. So yeah. So I have my thing in front of me here, but we have the new moon in Aries, beautiful Aries.
Hmm.
And okay, so this Aries is the focus for this new moon because we have Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, Mars, Sun, Moon, and Chiron all in Aries. It is about initiative, taking, forging a new path forward is the best word, but it could also be impulsive, explosive, wanting to do whatever you have in mind that you want to do, but not taking the time to stop and think about it and listen. Um, it's a sense of urgency. Like I have to get this done. I have to do this. I have to do that. Go, go, go. But it's also helping us to find our individual voices. But learning, like you said, learning how to respectively use our individual voices, respective towards other people, and respect the boundaries of people when you are trying to make whatever it is happen in your life, your ideas, whatever it is. It's also learning to respect others and their boundaries within this. With all these planets in Aries, especially Mars. Mars just entered into Aries. I don't have the date in front of me, but it on April the 17th, it will be in Aries. That is aggressive action being taken. And we can see that now with what is going on in the Middle East, in Iran. You know, it things could intensify. I guess that's the best way I'm going to say it, with Mars in Aries with Saturn and Neptune, because Mercury and Mars will both be next to Saturn and Neptune. Saturn and Neptune are not at 0 degrees anymore. They're starting to move away a little bit, but it's bringing up this reset point, this global reset in energies. And it's falling, releasing what's no longer working to bring in what does work, new systems of change in your own personal life, but on a worldwide level. And I feel that this is also a reflection of this, of what's going on inwardly. You know, we feel, where am I going? What am I doing? I feel I've been feeling very awake, not being able to sleep, but also like I feel like I cannot sit down. Like I always have to be doing something. And if I'm not, like, oh my gosh, my world's gonna end. But it's that confusion. It's not giving myself the boundaries of, it's okay to sit down and rest. It's okay to relax. It's okay to take care of the self.
Yeah.
And I think this new moon is also highlighting that completely. Bless you.
Sorry, thank you.
Bless you.
I forgot
Yep.
to mute. Sorry.
I think it's highlighting that, is that it's taking care of ourselves individually, not having that illusion of, oh, I can, you know, work for 1,000 hours a week and not be burnt out, or I can, whatever the examples are, having the reality of our lives and ourselves. And I think it's also reactivating the Saturn Neptune energy at 0 degrees. February 20th, that's when they were conjunct. And that is when things started happening in the world. We can see things just started building up, building up, building up. So this could be reactivating different global events, but also different things within ourselves to connect inwardly, find that compassion, but find ourselves in who we really are. I think that is the biggest takeaway from this new moon, is that finding who we are, what feels good for me, what is my ideals, how does do what I value, does it line up and match me anymore? Am I growing out of those things? Yeah, I
So
think
true.
that's
That
really
is
what
so
this,
so
yeah.
on point. And you know, often there is talk for any of you that are watching different things, but you know, we're in this reality that is changing and it's shifting rapidly, and there's huge expansion that's happening. Hence, we're now moving into the 5D, and for me, the 5D is, it feels lighter, but you know, every time the change happens for us, it's like we kind of feel uncomfortable. It's like, woof, the body goes, oh, I don't know what like you say, Lauren, like you don't want to sit, you know, I've got to keep busy, got to keep busy. And
Yeah.
and I'm the opposite, interesting enough, because I have been like, oh my God, Michelle, you've got to do more. Come on, get with the program. And it's almost like my body just feels like it's like a sloth at the moment. And and I know it's an integration. It's a real different integration. So
Yeah.
hang in there, guys. Okay, just keep staying in your space of your knowing, and sometimes it's in the connection of oneness. It's so and it can be so challenging of like, what is mine, what is yours? So listen to your body. Your body is your regulator, without a doubt. The mind will take you into your ego often, and it's good to have our egos, but just keep asking, what does my heart want? What is my heart? Just feel into your heart, because your heart will show you. We have what's called gut feelings. Listen to your gut feelings. Yeah.
And I'm actually glad you said that about intuition. You said something else as well. Give me a moment, it'll come back to me. But this healing, excuse me. Uh, Chiron, the sun and the moon will be next to Chiron. I think I said that right. Sun and the moon will be next to Chiron and Aries. That is about healing. Having the courage to heal, to face those shadows that we don't want to, that we have illusions about, that we are fine with certain things in life. And it's about the healing of the self. I think, yeah, that's really what a big theme is going to be. And it could, as a result of looking at different parts of ourselves and shadows, aggression could come out, anger could come out, projecting it onto other people is something that could also happen. So being aware of feeling angry from having memories come back up, to not, yell at other people because you're mad because you're thinking about something. Restraint. There's another word, but self-restraint. Uh, and
Gosh,
that's
I'm
the word I'm
still
going to use.
practicing
Yeah.
that. I'm still
Yeah.
practicing it.
It's not easy. I am myself,
No.
but I don't think I don't even think you realize it, because I don't sometimes, that you're thinking about something and you're bothered by something, and then you're just mad at everybody else, but it's really because you're thinking about something. And
And it's
yeah.
never about what it is, actually. So
No,
the
yeah.
experience would happen, but
hmm
there's actually a deeper emotion there.
hmm
Always. That is without a
Yeah.
doubt. There's something that's subconsciously coming up, showing up, and then the universe presents the experience, or you present the experience, bring the
Yeah.
experience into your
hmm
space, again to work with
Yeah.
the healing. So thanks, Lauren.
Definitely.
Is this all for the new moon that we're moving into? And
Yes.
ah,
It
all.
is. We
I mean,
also
all. Like, hello, Michelle. Like, freaking hell.
we also have one. This doesn't happen on the new moon, but it happens on the new moon's on the 17th. It happens on the 25th. That Gemini, Uranus will move into Gemini, and it's going to stay there until 2033. This is a big deal. This is also going into this sudden shifts, sudden changes, suddenly, like electric, like electric lightning bolt happens quickly. Things changing like that, moving from the, I don't want to say down to earth securities, but it's the values shifting, values shifting, ideas shifting, innovation shifting. But it's also um, quick, very quick information. How do you process that information? But also, maybe it could also be, how are we communicating with others? Um, how? Whether, I know we have our cell phones, but there's telepathy. You do the telepathy with the children, and it could be something similar to that, but it is quick, quick moving. And the higher octave of Uranus, it, excuse me, yeah, it's is Mercury. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused in my own brain right now.
It's okay. To be fair, I did put you on the spot and asked to change time, so it's
No
all
problem.
okay.
Going with the flow, and I'm glad you said that, because going with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
flow is
Let me just see how
hugely,
she's going to handle this.
that is a huge part of this with Uranus and Gemini. Um, Uranus and Gemini has also been known to be a time when there is conflict around the world. That's something else with Gemini. But on a personal level, it is about going with the flow. Sudden insight, sudden innovation, going with the flow, going with the changes that we can't explain, um, but we just go with them because it's like the universe is guiding us towards it.
Mm.
Uranus also has to do with air, air travel, space exploration. I feel it's interesting that the topic of aliens, intergalactic beings, came out about releasing information here in the United States. I'm not sure if you heard. Okay. And I just find it's interesting that that has come out at a time with Uranus moving into Gemini, it's air travel, communication between the air, however that happens, shocking events from the air. So I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're
it's
in
a
some
big deal.
pretty radical times of change. And one thing that I keep hearing is keep connecting into nature. And, as an example, we you guys have changed your clocks. We're still in our normal time zone in New Zealand. And just by coming back, when I left 3 weeks ago, at 5:30 we had a specific bird that was waking us up in the morning. And
Mm-hmm.
now, because it's slightly darker, that bird only is now starting to tweet at like 10 past 7, quarter past 7 in the morning, because it's
Mm-hmm.
darker. So you see how there's
Yeah.
cycles and we have the seasons, and obviously we're a part of that. So remember, everything's a cycle, everything is a season.
Yeah.
And we without going through the excruciating understandings, because it is like, what do we understand? What do we believe? What do
Mm-hmm.
we buy into? And there is so much information out there that we buy
Yeah.
into. And
Yeah.
just tune into nature. Okay, go for walks, guys. Remember, we're a part of the cycles. We're in this connection of change. And I love what you shared, because beings are coming to more and more and more people. And
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, people that clients of mine that didn't even believe in
Yeah.
they'd come for their first channeling session, and they were like gobsmacked. And I love that. And not even two
Mm-hmm.
years later, they're now connecting with their own beings. And
Yeah, that's awesome.
it is
That is
awesome.
really
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
they're ready to introduce themselves. So we're open. We're multidimensional, and we're all unique in our own blueprint. So hang in
Mm-hmm.
there. Know that we're all in this together, and just stay in your truth of who you are. So thanks, Lauren,
Thank
and
you,
I
Michelle, as
appreciate your
always.
time. I appreciate your sharings, and always grateful. And stay in gratitude, guys. Just remember, we've got a lot to be grateful for. Um, that is my hope for humanity. So have a beautiful day, Lauren. Thank you so much, guys. You can book a session with Lauren, um, 15 minutes, and yeah, see if it's a good energetic exchange. I can guarantee you that it is. Um, and remember, something that I think we always forget: like, subscribe,
Mm-hmm. And
comment,
share.
because if there's anything you want to hear, anything you want to know, we're
Mm-hmm.
open to hear
Yeah.
and receive. So thank you. Have a beautiful day, and remember, love is why we are here. Thanks, Lauren. Till we meet
Thanks,
again.
Michelle.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.